You'd be shocked how many women lose thousands of dollars in retirement benefits, simply because no one told them about one deadline. It's not a tax issue. It's not a legal dispute. It's something the government actually allows, but only if you know how to ask for it before it's too late. And here's the part no one warns you about. This deadline isn't printed on any check. It's not something your lawyer reminds you of during the divorce. And by the time most women realize they missed it, the money's already gone. Benefits they could have legally collected, completely lost. If you were married for 10 years or more, divorced, and your ex qualifies for Social Security, you may be entitled to a monthly check based on their work history, even if they've moved on, remarried, or never speak to you again. But there's a catch. A very specific window that locks tight after a certain point. And once it closes, you might not be able to open it again. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what that deadline is, why most people never hear about it, and how just one missed detail could cost you tens of thousands of dollars over the years. If you, or someone you love, has ever been through a divorce, especially later in life, this is information you can't afford to ignore. What you're about to hear isn't rumor. It's based on Social Security's own policies, and it's something every woman nearing retirement age needs to know. Because missing this one opportunity doesn't just affect your income, it can change your entire future. Let's get into it. Most people assume Social Security benefits are simple. You hit a certain age, you apply, and the checks start coming in. But for divorced women, especially those who are married for a long time, there's a rule buried in the fine print that can either unlock thousands or shut the door forever. Here's what it comes down to. If you were married to your ex for at least 10 years, divorced, and remain unmarried, you may be eligible to claim spousal benefits based on his work record. That means if his Social Security earnings were significantly higher than yours, you could receive monthly checks, even if he never gives you a dime personally. But here's the kicker. If your ex hasn't started claiming his own benefits, you have to wait at least 2 full years after the divorce before you're eligible. That 2-year clock is the deadline almost no one talks about. And it's the one that quietly disqualifies thousands of women every year. This deadline isn't automatic. It doesn't show up in your mailbox or blink on your phone. And the Social Security Administration isn't going to call you and say, "Hey, just so you know, you're almost out of time." If you don't apply within that window, you could be stuck waiting until your ex decides to claim his benefits, which could be years down the line, or never. That means your financial future could be tied to someone you divorced decades ago, and don't even talk to anymore. Imagine that. You spent 10, 15, maybe even 25 years building a life with someone, only to lose access to a benefit you legally earned, all because no one told you there was a timer running in the background. And it gets worse. Some women assume their divorce decree waived their right to spousal benefits. But it doesn't work like that. Social Security follows federal rules, not divorce settlements. If you qualify, the benefit is yours. But only if you claim it in time. Most women don't realize this until it's far too late. The benefit disappears into thin air, and you're left wondering why your retirement feels tighter than it should. But that's just the start. Because even if you manage to apply on time, how much you get depends on another decision that most people get wrong. So why does this 2-year window matter so much? Because it determines whether you can access your ex's benefits independently, or whether you're forced to wait on his timeline. Here's how it works. If you and your ex have been divorced for at least 2 years, and you meet all the other requirements, like being 62 or older, unmarried, and having been married to him for at least 10 years, you can apply for spousal benefits even if your ex hasn't filed for his own Social Security yet. But if that 2-year mark hasn't passed, you're stuck. You can't file unless your ex is already receiving benefits. And here's where it gets risky. What if he delays filing? What if he decides to wait until 67 or even 70 to maximize his payout? That means your financial security is now tied to his personal retirement strategy, which you have zero control over. Think about that. You've been divorced for years. You've rebuilt your life. You're ready to retire, but suddenly, you're being told you have to wait because your former spouse hasn't filed his paperwork? It doesn't just feel unfair. It feels completely backwards. And it catches so many women off guard. Worse still, most people don't even know when that 2-year countdown starts. It begins the moment the divorce is finalized. Not when you separate, not when you stop talking, not when you move out. And if you miss it, or don't realize it even exists, you could spend years missing out on money that was legally available to you. The sad truth is, Many women don't find out until they show up at the Social Security office and get told they're not eligible yet. Not because they don't qualify, but because of one invisible line on the calendar that no one warned them about. This is why understanding the rules before you need them is so important. Because waiting until retirement to figure this out is like showing up to a marathon with no shoes. You're already behind before the race begins. But that's not the only trap. Even if you pass the 2-year test and qualify for spousal benefits, the amount you receive can be drastically reduced if you make one common mistake. And it's something most people don't even realize they're doing wrong. This is where things get even more confusing, and where many women unknowingly leave huge amounts of money on the table. Not all Social Security benefits are the same, and depending on your situation, you could be entitled to spousal benefits or survivor benefits. And the difference between the two is massive. Spousal benefits allow you to claim up to 50% of your ex's full retirement amount, assuming you meet all the rules. That's if you're divorced, still alive, and your ex is still alive too. But if your ex passes away, the equation changes completely, and that's when survivor benefits kick in. Survivor benefits can give you up to 100% of your ex's benefit amount. That's double what most people get as a divorced spouse. But here's the catch. Most women don't realize they qualify for survivor benefits at all. If you were married to your ex for 10 years or more, and he passes away, you could receive his full benefit, even if you've been divorced for decades. The key is that you must be 60 or older to apply, and you have to be unmarried, or only remarried after age 60. Yes, you heard that right. If you remarry before age 60, you may lose access to survivor benefits. One life decision, one wedding, can cost you a lifetime of monthly income. And most people have no idea. Imagine this. Your ex-spouse passes away. You go to apply for benefits, thinking you'll finally get some financial support after years of doing things on your own. Then you find out that because you remarried at 58, you're ineligible. That's not just frustrating. It's devastating. Especially when it could mean the difference between a comfortable retirement and struggling to pay the bills. Even more surprising? You can switch benefits. Some women choose to collect reduced survivor benefits early and then switch to their own higher benefits later. Others go the opposite route. The timing of your application can change your monthly check for the rest of your life, but almost no one understands how to navigate it. This isn't just red tape. It's your future. And getting it wrong by even a few months could mean the difference between 50% and 100%. But even if you understand the rules and know which benefit you qualify for, there's one more trap that can shrink your check permanently. And it's a mistake many women make without realizing it. Let's say you've made it this far. You were married for over 10 years, you're divorced, you hit the 2-year mark, and you qualify for spousal benefits. Seems like smooth sailing, right? Not quite. Because now comes the part that trips up even the most prepared women. When you choose to file. Most people think, I'm 62, I'm eligible. Why not start collecting now? But what they don't realize is that claiming early comes with a price. And it's one that sticks with you for the rest of your life. Here's the reality. If you file for spousal benefits before your full retirement age, typically between 66 and 67 depending on when you were born, your monthly check will be permanently reduced. Not temporarily. Not until you hit a certain age. Permanently. Instead of receiving the full 50% of your ex's benefit, you could be locked in at as little as 32.5%. A massive difference when you're depending on that money month after month. That's hundreds of dollars lost, every single check. Multiply that across years, maybe even decades, and we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars that never reach your bank account. And here's where it gets even trickier. Once you've filed, you're locked in. There's no do-over. No oops button. If you realize later that you should have waited, it's already too late. Now, for some women, filing early does make sense. If you need the money to survive, then yes, something is better than nothing. But many women rush into the decision without understanding the long-term impact. They take the smaller check, thinking they can just figure things out later, without realizing they've just slashed their own retirement income forever. It's not just about numbers, it's about leverage. That reduced benefit could mean less financial independence, fewer choices, and more reliance on others later in life. All because of one decision made too soon. Timing matters. And the system is designed in a way that rewards patience but punishes urgency. If no one warns you, it's easy to fall into the trap thinking you're doing the smart thing by grabbing what's available. But what's available right now might be far less than what you actually deserve. And sadly, even women who wait, calculate, and plan carefully sometimes get blocked by another misunderstanding. One that shows up in the courtroom, not at the Social Security office. Here's a mistake that's more common than you'd think, and it's one that's cost women their benefits without them even realizing it. Let's say your divorce was finalized years ago. Maybe the court documents included a line about waiving spousal support or dividing retirement assets. Maybe, in an effort to move on cleanly, you agreed not to take anything from your ex after the papers were signed. And maybe you assumed that included his Social Security benefits too. But here's what most people don't realize. Your divorce decree has no power over Social Security. That's right. Even if your ex, your lawyer, or even the judge believed you gave up your right to benefits, the truth is, you didn't. Because Social Security is a federal program, not part of the divorce agreement. Your eligibility is based on how long you were married and the rules set by the government, not what's written in your settlement. So if you meet the requirements, 10 years of marriage, age 62 or older, currently unmarried, you still have the right to claim benefits based on your ex's record. It doesn't matter what the divorce agreement says. It doesn't matter if you haven't spoken in years. And it certainly doesn't matter if he objects. You don't need his permission. But here's the painful part. Because this fact isn't widely known, many women never apply. They assume they forfeited the option long ago. They walk into retirement thinking their only income is what they earned during their working years, never realizing there's a second option they could have tapped into. Completely legally, and without affecting their ex's benefits at all. That silence, that lack of information, is what keeps so many women financially stuck. They don't ask, because they think they can't. And no one at the Social Security office is going to chase you down and say, "Hey, we think you might be eligible for more." You have to know what to ask for. You have to advocate for yourself. And most importantly, you have to understand that no piece of paper from your divorce can take away what Social Security says you're owed. But even with all of this knowledge, none of it matters unless you take one crucial next step, and that's where most people fall short. By now, you might be wondering, okay, so what do I actually need to do? Because knowing the rules isn't enough. If you don't act on them, they won't help you. And when it comes to claiming benefits off your ex's record, the clock doesn't just tick, it runs out silently. So here's what you must do. Now, not someday. First, confirm your timeline. Go back and check the exact dates of your marriage and your divorce. Were you married for at least 10 full years? Not 9 years and 11 months? Because if you were even 1 day short, you won't qualify. And if you were over 10 years, that door is open, at least in theory. Next, look at how long it's been since the divorce was finalized. If it's been 2 years or more, and your ex hasn't filed for benefits yet, you can still apply independently, as long as you meet the age and marital status requirements. But if you're getting close to that 2-year mark, and you haven't looked into this, you're running out of time to act before your options become much more limited. Then, gather your Social Security statements, both yours and, if possible, an estimate of what your ex is entitled to. You don't need his cooperation. The Social Security Administration can help you compare benefits if you provide your marriage and divorce documentation. They won't contact him, and he'll never even know you filed unless he checks. And even then, it doesn't affect his benefit at all. Now ask yourself, which is higher, your own benefit, or half of his? If his is larger, and you qualify, you could switch to that instead. If he's passed away, and you meet the rules, you may qualify for his full amount as a survivor. But if you don't ask, they won't tell. And finally, make an appointment, either online or in person, with your local Social Security office. Don't rely on guessing or online calculators. Speak to a representative, bring your documentation, and get a clear answer tailored to your situation. It might take time. It might feel overwhelming. But missing this window could cost you thousands, even hundreds of thousands, over the course of your retirement. Don't wait for someone else to bring this up. Don't assume you're not eligible just because you're divorced. And don't let silence or outdated beliefs keep you from collecting what you're owed. Because now you know what most women don't, that the opportunity is real, but it doesn't last forever. Looking back, the most painful part isn't just the money lost. It's realizing that you could have done something. If only you had known that a benefit meant to protect you quietly slipped away, not because you didn't deserve it, but because no one ever explained the rules. The truth is, Most women don't miss out because they made the wrong choice. They miss out because they didn't realize they had a choice. They assumed their divorce ended everything. They thought Social Security was only based on their own income. And by the time they found out there was another way, it was too late. But now you know better. You know that if you were married for at least 10 years, divorced for 2 or more, and remain unmarried, you may have a right to claim benefits based on your ex's record. You know that survivor benefits can go as high as 100%. And you know that timing, paperwork, and one missed conversation with the Social Security office can change everything. So don't wait. Take action. Look at your dates. Compare benefits. Make the call. Because this isn't just about claiming a check. It's about claiming what's yours. It's about making sure that the life you worked for, the years you spent building, sacrificing, and surviving, isn't quietly erased by fine print and silence. If you learned something from this video, or if you realize there's a step you still need to take, drop a comment below and share what stood out to you most. Even one small insight can help someone else avoid a costly mistake. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss more content like this. We're here to help you navigate the hidden truths most people never talk about. Because what you don't know can hurt you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.